Strong afternoon, isn't it? I mean, you look at the Nifty, you look at the Nifty Bank, and you feel this is special. About a sharp surge that has come into the markets in the last 30 odd minutes of trade. And I'll tell you what, we'll get our chartists very quickly on the show today to try and understand if this can be bought into. So we'll make the market check quick. But the point is almost everything is participating. Banks are in the green. Moving almost in the same vein. Reliance Industries, the heavyweight, has participated. Metals are doing really well for themselves as well. And get the heat map up on the screen and you will see that there is participation across the board. I stand corrected. In the morning we were saying that this market breadth, which was 5 in the red and maximum in the green, will change by the afternoon, has changed, but in the other way, because there is only one Nifty stock in the red. The market breadth is positive. No, but Tamanna will highlight this. Just get the heat map up on the screen, because on the large cap end, look at the gains that have come in to autos, to oil and gas as well, with ONGC and Reliance participating, to metals. So commodities and autos are participating, but the largest point contribution, viewers, I'm sure, is coming in from the banking space, because that space is a heavyweight and that is moving. Tamanna, mid caps probably not. I mean, the gusto is in the large caps, but you don't have a reason to complain.
Absolutely. There's a party going on. Question is whether you've been invited or not.
Exactly.
And most of the market is. So this is one of those days of truth, Niraj. If your portfolio is not looking good this afternoon, you need a serious rethink. Because just look at this screen. And look at the kind of strength that you've seen. Let's pull up the broader indices before we go to the advanced decline ratio as well. The mid-cap 150, not showing as much of a spike as the Nifty. So remember, this is a bit of a Nifty story in that sense. But let's pull up the small cap index as well, the intraday chart, and see what's happening there. Steady as she goes. It's been a good day. But again, that sharp upswing is coming in the heavyweights undoubtedly. Advanced decline ratio just once more, just to see how evenly that gap has broadened. And, on the broader end of the spectrum, some would argue that a little after markets open, it was actually looking better. So it's positive, largely Nifty story. Let's look at some of the key movers. I mean, a Keynes Tech today. Keynes Tech, and if I may add, a Dixon. There's a Nomura note out, and of course they've initiated coverage, a buy target, 30% upside on Keynes. They had an upside on Dixon as well. Nothing much happened with Dixon to that extent, but Keynes is nearly 12% up. That stock absolutely buzzing. A lot of brokerage calls are the trigger for stocks that are moving this afternoon. So look at Zomato, for example. Positive brokerage call there. Kalyan Jewellers is another one which has had a positive HSBC call on it. So Kalyan Jewellers also about 5% up. But on the other hand, Adani Power, as I had disclosures there, but Adani Power doing well in afternoon trade, because the Coastal Energy acquisition, which was stuck in NCLAD, has been cleared by the Supreme Court. So that stock in focus this afternoon, about 4% up. On the downside, you have a Honasa expected with a block deal impact. And, so Honasa, of course, looking a bit soft. But let's also, 6% down there, but let's also look at Granules. And that's also a stock of the day. So we'll come to it in a little more detail. But Granules getting pummeled, 16% down. Now, this is an interesting sequence of events in the sense that there's a US FDA set of observations, 6 in fact. This came out yesterday. The stock didn't react that badly, and then this afternoon the company comes and clarifies, saying that we are cooperating, etc. Standard boilerplate, but that's when you see the massive dive continuing. So 16% down on that. But those are more exceptions in the market today, Niraj, because the heavyweights are all ready to break out the party hats.
I mean, now you can attribute various reasons to this. Tamanna, China to cut rates, therefore that gets the commodity space active, and therefore if indeed the growth numbers don't look all that bad there, is it good for world markets at large? Who knows? Just before we get to our experts, European market should come up on your screen just to mark. The European markets also have rallied. I mean, look at those markets. DAX is up 1.16%. FTSE about 0.72%. So there is a bit of a move out there too. Kush Bora, Rajesh Palvia to talk about the technicals and the derivative side of the market. Gentlemen, both of you, thanks so much for joining in. Kush, good afternoon. Simple, pointed question. If you were not long until now, would you initiate a fresh long? And if you were long, would you take money off the table or stay long?
Hi, Niraj. First of all,
this is on the Nifty, by the way. Very good afternoon. Yeah.
Sure. I think this afternoon's turned good right at the stroke of 2 p.m. Up until then, it was just another day. Yeah. Caught everyone by surprise, much like Friday. Now, to answer your question very pointedly, if I had long positions, I would take money off the table. I would book profits and wait for a day just to see whether the 25,300 new highs are taken out on the Nifty. Just to conclude a point, we've been seeing negative divergences on the daily and the weekly setup. Even this move isn't really clearing any doubts on that front, that the negative divergences still remain intact. So I would take these bouts as a profit booking opportunity. With this kind of a move, 25, 300, 350 isn't really that far. But if that is taken out, that's when you see fresh momentum, and that's when you perhaps add new long positions. At the moment, you take some money off the table.
You take some money off the table at these positions is what Kush is saying. Just on the Bank Nifty as well, Kush, very good afternoon to you. And let's get your top picks this afternoon.
Hi, Tamanna. Very good afternoon to you too. A couple of stocks, both on the long side. The first one is Ipca Labs. This stock has been seeing a rather decent momentum on the upside. A couple of days of consolidation and retesting the previous highs again. I think on the upside, 1525, 1600 are the targets to look at. 1375 is where you place your stop loss. Cyient, here too, we've seen a breakout, after a good 15, 20 sessions of consolidation yesterday. The move continues today as well. From a positional standpoint, 2200, 2260 are the targets to look at. 2060 is where you place your stop loss. I've got a couple of updates as well. And as in when you cue me in, I'll be happy to share those as well.
Updates for sure, but let me get Rajesh's view in on the indices. And Rajesh, why don't you start with the Bank Nifty as well? Bank Nifty, Nifty, and of course, picks.
Good afternoon, Tamanna. So, my view is a little different. I'll carry my long position as Nifty has witnessed a very strong, short covering action, and the way Nifty has moved up beyond 52,200, 25,200. I think this really has now potential to cross all-time high trajectory also. So I think till Nifty is holding about 25,150, I'll carry my long position, and possibly we are aiming target of 25,450 to 500 in the continuation of this up move. And for Bank Nifty also, very strong buying action. Bank Nifty constituents also started participating, all private as well as PSU banks also participating in this. So we believe that the way Bank Nifty is holding above 51,400, I think if it's stay above those level, possible target for Bank Nifty we could see towards 51,800 to 52,000 also. So here also we are carrying our long position. At this juncture, our stop losses are placed at around 51,300 to hold long position in Bank Nifty also. Stock, all three heavyweight stocks. First one is from telecom sector, that is Bharti Airtel. Sustained buying action is taking place in the stock. The way stock has moved up in today's session, there is a high possibility that now stock may cross level of 1700 also in this rally. So we are projecting target towards 1690 to 1710 for Bharti Airtel. Your stop loss should be placed at around 1608. Second stock is from the private bank, that is ICICI Bank. Here, the way stock is outperforming compared to all other private banks, there is a possibility that ICICI may regain to all-time high trajectory very soon. We are projecting target towards 1285 for ICICI Bank. Since last couple of days, we are seeing that positions are intact. Long built-up is there in the data, so one can buy with stop loss of 1218. And the third stock is from FMCG basket, that is Britannia. A very strong breakout on a daily, weekly time frame, and the way stock has shown long built up in last couple of days, we believe that Britannia may extend its gain, and the possible target towards 6250 we can see in short period of time. So Britannia is buy with stop loss of 6060.
Just another stock that we should focus on is Bharti Airtel. I mean, Bharti Airtel in that day, Granules, if Granules is the stock of the day on the negative side, Bharti Airtel is the stock of the day on the positive side. Look at the sharp upswing there. So what's happened there is that they have signed a pact with Sparkle for blue Raman capacity between India and Italy. If you didn't understand any of that, it's essentially a submarine cable system that they have signed a pact from. We'll try and get you more details on why this is such a big deal, and we'll ask our fundamental guest as well. But meanwhile, Rajesh, just your take on the charts on Bharti Airtel.
So definitely, Tamanna, we are holding bullish when the continuation of uptrend is going on. Stock is moving in upsloping channel on weekly chart. there is a long built up on the derivative data. The way stock has shown strength in today's session, especially, we expect that this rally may extend to 1690 to 1710. So I think Bharti is a buy at current level. Also, even in minor decline, also you can add the position. 1610, 1605 should be your stop loss.
Okay. Well, Airtel is zooming in trade. What is not zooming and hitting quite the reverse gear is Granules India. The stock has been battered in trade on the back of the US FDA's 6 observations at the Hyderabad plant, which includes, and I quote, destroying quality control data. Varsha Johnson to tell us more. Varsha.
So yes, Granule stock is under pressure. Now this is on the back of company receiving 6 observation from US FDA at its Hyderabad plant. Now this was 2-3 days ago news, but let's see what the observations were. First, the inspection was conducted from August 26 to September 6, 2024 at their Hyderabad facility, which is crucial for manufacturing finished doses. Now they also produce, the facility also makes pharmaceutical formulation intermediates. This facility supports global operation, and it has a capacity of 23,200 tons per annum for pharmaceutical intermediates and 26.8 billion units for their finished doses. Now, the point is, the observation is now that so the big investors like Aditya Khemka in their tweet says that the Granules store and destroyed quality control data, GNP documents and papers, leading to data integrity issues. Now the data integrity is nothing but the maintenance of the accuracy and consistency of data, and it is critical aspects when it comes to pharmaceutical industry, because it ensures that the drug are safe and effective and meet quality standards. Now the data integrity issue can occur when data is corrupted, which is when unwanted or unexpected changes take place, which leads to storage or processing. Now this can be caused by hardware failures, human error, or malicious actions, or data security failures. So the fact that the observation finds the data integrity issues is the reason that we are seeing the pressure on the stock.
And thanks, Varsha, for that. That Aditya Khemka tweet should come up, because, this is, of course, him also putting it out. He's a noted fund manager, but putting it out that this is what he's heard, that if this has happened, then why is it that the company would do something like this in this day and age? I think that is what he was trying to say. But if that is what has happened, because Granules statement, me and Tamanna were just talking about it, the Granules statement is effectively saying only one thing, that we are addressing the US FDA concerns, and we'll work with the US FDA to try and come at suitable solutions. But until then, and how long does this take? This is the biggest plant of Granules, which is now under the US FDA scanner, and therefore it's not good news.
And I think to the point that you were making as well, Niraj, that while the response from Granules is pretty standard, as it usually is in these cases, where you come and say that, yeah, we're doing everything that we're supposed to, there's no clear, sharp denial of some of the allegations that have come in terms of was any evidence destroyed, or they're pretty harsh observations. Maybe they could not have come in and said anything there, but a more constructive tone may have helped, or maybe it's harsh enough that nothing would have helped. Yeah. One way or the other. Granules is the outlier on this day. Rajesh, do you look at this stock at all on the charts?
So a very significant fall in the stock in today's session, and the way short built up is there, and the stock now slipped below to 50-day moving average also. So maybe if it's sustained below to 580, 590 zone, I think furthermore supply pressure we could see in the near term basis, and possibly stock may go further down towards 540, 530 kind of level also. So I think stay away at this moment, not to buy this falling knife at this juncture till the clarity not comes. I think the way stock has broken all its important support area on daily as well as on the weekly chart, I think furthermore follow-up selling we could see in the coming trading session also.
In fact, that is the question, Kush Bora. The stock rallied from 400 to 700 very, very swiftly. Now, fundamentally, the largest plant is under the scanner. My question is actually, can it do more? You may not want to sell it after it's 16% lower, agreed, because a lot of the easy money is out of the bag. But do the charts indicate more downsides here? Is it possible to predict that?
They do, Niraj. And this was one of the favorites for a lot of experts, a lot of funds. Also, when it was going up, the kind of moves that it used to see. There was a time when it had like five, I think about 5 to 7, 8, maybe more. Closings on the on the higher side, suggesting that there was a lot of interest. Now, all of that is going to come into question. Now, as Rajesh said, the first level of support that I'm looking at after this kind of a fall is actually around 525. If that is broken, then 490. Now, if you're a brave heart, you might still want to consider a short on this one. But at the very least, I mean, if you have a position, then it's not a bad idea to exit, right now, because as we speak, the stock on the back of very strong volumes continues to hit fresh lows. So there is a possibility that it might tend towards, 525, 490 zones as well.
90s has how low Granules can go. Aditya Shah joining us from Hercules Securities. Aditya, very good afternoon to you, and so much to unpack today on what's happening with the markets, Bharti Airtel, etc. But since you've joined the conversation at a point when we're talking about Granules, let's get your view on that. Any silver lining anywhere for the stock, for the company right now?
See, Tamanna, we have seen a lot of generic companies with very poor compliance, stock prices moving up. And now we've seen the US FDA coming in and giving all of these red letter warnings to companies. So my advice to investors would be very, very careful on the generic side of it. Only try to invest where there's a strong track record of compliances. Rather than going into all of these companies, try to invest in CRAM CDMO businesses, or try to invest in the diagnostic sector or in the API sector, where compliance is really very strong. Compliance is one of the strongest points that you need to decipher while investing in the pharma companies. And I would advise investors to stay away from companies from Granules, as well as companies where compliance track record is absolutely very weak.
So from the big loser of the day to the big winner of the day, especially as per weightage, Aditya, what about Bharti Airtel? I think the news trigger is this undersea cable deal that they have signed. But what are you finding exciting about Bharti Airtel, and why do you reckon we've seen such a sharp upswing?
So we are positive both on Bharti Airtel and Reliance Jio, or the Reliance stock per se. Both these companies will continue to do exceptionally well. We are on a path to a tariff hike, and we will see continuous tariff hikes in the next 6, 12, 24 months. So today's trigger is, as you said, the news that has come up. However, longer term, I am positive both on Bharti Airtel as well as Reliance.
Yeah, 4% higher. In a bit, Rucha will of course join in to talk about this as well. But just the kind of moves that are happening in commodities warrant a quick check on that before we get to the cabinet decision on autos as well. Rajesh, the moves that we're seeing, Vedanta, Hindalco, all steel companies as well, everything metal has done well. Now, whether it's due to this whole talk of China cutting rates or the ECB cutting rates very, very shortly, what have you, but the move is happening as a pack. Would you trade any of the metal names?
So definitely, Niraj, GSW still is looking promising, and the stock is comfortably, managed to cross its last 6 days consolidation range. We believe that, if the stocks continues to hold above 940, I think there is a possibility stock can move further higher to 990, even 1000 kind of level. Even Vedanta is also looking promising. Long-term structure is bullish, and the way stock has recovered from today's low, I think it's a very strong recovery is taken place in this stock. I think Vedanta can also extend its gain. 455 is the next target for the stock. At this juncture, one can buy with stop loss of 434.
Okay. Vedanta in focus in terms of metals. Aditya, let me come to you quickly on the metal story. So a whole host of things. Steel companies, of course, buzzing since morning. The story has gone beyond steel. Look at the metals index and their components. That's where the shine completely is. What are you betting on right now, Aditya, in the metals pack?
So within the metal pack, we like the ferrous side of it, or the ferrous metals. And companies like Tata Steel, those look really very interesting to us. However, you need to be really very careful. This is a short-term blip. Given that the world is undergoing a slowdown, there is a quintessential requirement for interest rate cuts, and as the interest rate cuts come along, then these commodity prices will start to do exceptionally well. Not so bullish in the near term. However, on a longer term perspective, I'm bullish on the ferrous side of metals.
Okay. You're bullish on the ferrous side of metals. Now, a lot of things combining to the kind of move we've seen in the markets today. Perfect storm, but in a positive sense. And one of the major stories having an impact is also of the cabinet approving the PM e-drive scheme with a 10,900 crore rupee outlay. This move has seen several EV stocks move higher in trade. Puneet brings us more details on the stock impact on major auto players.
This is a major impact, and I also want to just take a couple of moments to highlight the comments that Mr. Kumaraswamy, the Minister of Heavy Industries, had said. His press conference is going on right now, and our colleague Tushar is giving us some highlights. Now, what is essentially the key concern here is that they've given the outlay of the scheme across categories. So, the breakup is roughly around 1,700 odd crores will be for these electric two-wheelers, roughly 500 odd crores for hybrid ambulances, 900 odd crores for electric three-wheelers, and 4,300 odd crores for electric buses. Now, the reason I want to focus is because electric cars, as my colleague said, is not included in this particular scheme, and the rationale behind this is that electric cars attract a lower GST of just 5% versus roughly 28% on normal cars and 43% on 43 to 48% on the bigger and the hybrid cars as well. So since this is already getting the benefit of lower GST, that's the reason electric cars has not been included. That's what Mr. Kumaraswamy had to say. Apart from that, the subsidy on electric two-wheelers has been reduced from 10,000 kilowatt hour previously to 5,000 now, and this is slightly negative because the 10,000 scheme was just introduced in the month of April on the first in the new EMPS scheme, which had come after the FAME scheme as a temporary halt stop. Now, this is also a key negative for electric two-wheeler players, the likes of Ola Electric, Bajaj Auto, as well as TVS, because the incentive for purchasing an electric scooter has dramatically been reduced over the last 6 months. Now, even though for the electric, this is in the if you purchase the scheme in the first year, an electric scooter in the first year is 5,000 kilowatt. If you do that the next year, which is roughly FY26, it goes down further to roughly 2,500 rupees a kilowatt hour. Generally, an electric scooter is about 3 kilowatts, so your maximum discount is up to 7,500 to 10,000 rupees. Finally, the subsidy on electric three-wheelers, it's coming at roughly 50,000 rupees per kilowatt hour in the first year, and that halves in the second year. So in the morning, we had highlighted the electric four-wheeler makers will be impacted by this since they're not included. I think based on this particular new development, electric two-wheeler makers also won't be very happy with the 50% reduction in subsidies going forward compared to the same time in the last 6 months. E-buses, we are still awaiting some more details on how it is, but e-buses seem to be the most favorable here.
Yeah, but everyone is happy right now because look at what's happening in the markets. You are just inches away from an all-time high on the Nifty. There is not a single stock in the red on the Nifty 50. It's green every which way you look. Like the biggest lose on the Nifty right now is SBI Life, which is also 0.26% up. Hindalco, NTPC, all of them up there celebrating. But look at the auto pack as well. And M&M, Hero, Bajaj Auto, all of them are making it to the top of the list. So it's metals. It's all over really, but it's metals. A lot of heavyweights coming in. Look at the upswing in a Wipro since this morning actually, but benefiting there as well. Let's pull up the Nifty, and like we said, you're just a few points away from an all-time high right now. Over 400 points up on the Nifty at this point. So it's looking like a very, very exciting afternoon. Yeah, we have touched the all-time high. We have touched the all-time high, 25,331 on the Nifty. 25,338 is the all-time high that we have touched. So an exciting day. To wrap up what has been an interesting week. And this is a completely different situation because all your intraday charts is talking about this 2 o'clock zoom. Now, I don't know if this is going to be FII inflows which have pushed this up. We'll wait till this evening to see that detail, but definitely this is a different trajectory that we're going into. Kush, you started the show saying that if you were long on the Nifty, you would cut off you sell your positions or you'd close your positions. Do you want to review that? What would you do with the Bank Nifty? Bank Nifty also 600 points up.
I mean, who would have woken up this morning thinking that, oh, come on, we'll hit a new high on the Nifty, and Bank Nifty will be breaking out of all the resistances. But
Boring would
that's where
life
we
be
are.
if we knew in the morning what's going to happen by the afternoon?
Trust me, I don't mind that. If I know that, if I can link my positions, I'm completely happy. Let it be boring. The idea is to make money.
Yeah, but then it would be you and everyone else. So then how is that going to happen?
Just kidding. Anyways, Kush, sorry, please finish your answer.
No, so I still maintain that view. I mean, we did speak that with the kind of momentum, 100 points here or there for the Nifty will not really be a big deal. In the last 20-25 minutes of our discussion, the Nifty's touched that. My view still remains. I will for the day at least take some money home. See assess what the data sets up like for tomorrow, and then perhaps decide. If we do maintain this kind of a closing at least, then perhaps there is. Another perhaps 150 200 points of up move left, 22,500 sort of comes into play. But for the day, I mean, if I had a long position and then if I was looking at the last couple of sessions under a lot of pressure, I would still be tempted to take some money home. Bank Nifty, on the other hand, slightly different creature, where the 50-day moving average was acting as a bit of a resistance for 8-10 odd sessions, broken past that. So from here on, 50 to 200, is the target that comes into play. That's the one index that you perhaps want to consider going long on rather than Nifty at the moment.
Aditya, what is your reading of what's happening in the markets right now? And, is this the time when people look at possibility of booking profits or waiting for this upswing to sort of continue?
So what I am seeing is that the part of Nifty that was not performing, the private sector banks, that has now come up. We've seen HDFC Bank that is going up. We've seen the Kotak Bank that is going up. The whole host of banks that were not leading the market up, they are now leading the market up. And this up move is a lot to do with what Bank Nifty is really doing. So in my opinion, it was warranted and it was bound to really happen. If you're holding positions in good companies, I don't think that there is any need to book profits. However, your time horizon should be longer term. In the near term, you could see some volatility. However, longer term, I am positive on the market still.
Okay, well, strong moves there. Rajesh, you must be smiling your way to the bank, although it's only a 0.3% up move from the time that we spoke, but it's certainly ending well. The question is on private banks, Rajesh, and completely out of favor, not quite there. Today participating, would you trade an HDFC? I know you mentioned an ICICI Bank as one of your ideas. The others, HDFC Bank or a Kotak Bank, would you trade them, or is there more juice in an ICICI kind of a stock?
So definitely, HDFC Bank is on our second stock on a private bank, and I think the way after a long consolidation in today's move, stock managed to give breakout. I think if any follow-up buying action comes above 1670 on the HDFC Bank, I think here also we could see some short covering, and then possibly stock may extend its gain towards 1700, 1720. That's the major congestion zone for the stock. So I think 1720 would be the key resistance area for HDFC Bank. If at all this pullback continues further tomorrow's, I think looking at the structure, yes, we do believe that, yes, there is a possibility that HDFC Bank can extend gain. So I think, yes, here we can deploy some long trade with stop loss of 1640.
Okay. Well, we're making a habit of talking on big moments and big days with Pankaj Murarka, CIO of Renaissance Investment Managers. He joins us on the show yet again. Pankaj, great having you. Thanks for agreeing to talk on such a short notice. But, I wonder if it's got to do with this surge that we're seeing in sentiment across the world. Is it got to do with being closer to the rate cuts? Also, some news on Bloomberg that China is going to cut rates on $5 trillion worth of mortgages as soon as September. Is all of this fueling it, or is it difficult to say?
Good afternoon, Niraj. First of all, congratulations to you and all your viewers for making a new high. I think fundamentally the fact remains that we've been into last 18 months or 20 months of very steep rate hike by Fed, and now that cycle is reversing. We are on course for probably at least 200 basis points rate cuts in US over the next 12 to 15 months. And if that is the case, then we're going to see, I firmly believe that we're going to see significant amount of capital flowing back to emerging markets. The big difference this time around for India is last time when we were in a rate cut cycle or a benign interest rate cycle during COVID, India's weight in MSCI emerging market was 8% and China was 40%. Come 2024, as we speak, India's weight is 20% and China is 22%. The point I'm going to say is India this time around is going to get far significantly much higher flows coming to emerging markets as percentage share than what we got last time. And if that is the case, then Indian markets are headed higher.
Pankaj, hi, good afternoon. Tamanna here. What's amazing is if you see which are the biggest movers today, and it's not necessarily the usual suspects, your private banks. They're doing well, no doubt. But you are seeing action in a Bharti Airtel, a Wipro, some of these kind of counters. Do you think that's also indicative that in this next leg up of funds flowing in, the choices might be different, or do you think you would watch out for the usual suspects?
No, I agree with you, Tamanna. I think market is already witnessing a sectoral rotation. Probably last 18 months or 2 years, right from March 23 until few months back, was about defense, railways and capital goods or industrials, while the underlying story, earnings momentum in that sector or segment remains strong, but the fact remains valuations there are rich or extremely rich from a next 1 to 2 year perspective. And so I think significantly higher amount of capital flow into some of these laggard sectors, which is already showing signs in the last 6 or 8 weeks. We've seen IT has done phenomenally well in the last 8 weeks. We've seen some revival. I think from here on, private sector banks will participate in the rally. So I think we are going to see sectoral rotation in the market because there is a segment of the market which includes IT, consumer discretionary, and banks, financials, including private sector banks, which has underperformed, and where probably the earnings outlook today is much better than or the earnings headwinds are behind, and probably we are looking forward to strong earnings growth. So I think this a much higher capital will flow into it, and we will see sectoral rotation. This is just the beginning of pickup from some of these laggard sectors and stocks within those sectors.
All right, so sectoral rotation is something which we will see. Will we see, sort of a policy push kind of a surge as well, Pankaj? I mean, is this a story that repeats itself? So your defense, renewables, you're already seeing some buzz coming in from decisions that the government is making. And do you see that upside returning to the market?
Well, on the defense and industrials, while the story, long-term story remains intact, and I think we'll keep showing positive news flow or news flows in terms of orders and all of that. But the only point I'm going to say is from a near-term perspective, all of that is into the price, and the stocks within the sectors are extremely rich. I haven't seen for a very long time a PSU company trading at 40-50 multiple on 2-year forward earnings, which HAL today is trading at. So these kind of valuations I haven't seen for a very long time for a PSU company. But the fact remains that the underlying story remains compelling. There is strong earnings growth, but I think probably all of that is in the price. And the risk reward is much better in some of the other sectors or other segments of the market. So I think probably we find much better risk reward in those segments or those sectors in that sense.
Last question, sorry. Are you moving to some bit of cash as a reason, if you can, or are you swapping for sectors wherein the valuations are a lot more easier?
Niraj, I firmly believe we are in a bull market. We are in a very strong bull market. It is foolish or naive to sit on cash in a bull market. Don't waste opportunity. There is significant opportunity cost to cash in a bull market. The simple thing to do in a bull market is just stay invested fully and let markets do their job.
Okay. Pankaj, appreciate you joining us. Thanks for taking the time out and being with us. Our guests, of course, stay with us. We take a quick break on the other side. We try and take a look at the EMS stocks, which have had a fabulous move today. Also try and talk about Bharti Airtel, which is the top nifty gainer, some BTST ideas, and maybe push Aditya to talk about one fundamental idea. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Well, no signs of flagging in the markets now above the 25,400 levels on the Nifty. So not only have we crossed new highs, but you are continuing the trajectory. Look at the swing in just a day, over 500 points up just on the Nifty. I'm going to just quickly pull up what the gainers are once again. And while we try to make sense of this, is this foreign money finding a better destination in India versus China? It could be any of those reasons that are coming in, but it's just a complete sea of green on the markets today. One of the top buzzes, of course, is Bharti Airtel. The stock is trading over 4% up as we speak, and there's a whole host of updates that have come in just today, nearly 5% up on Bharti Airtel. Now, Rucha brings us the details. Rucha, what is the news flow as far as Bharti is concerned?
So Tamanna, you're right, Bharti Airtel has hit 52-week high, and this is on the back of 3 new updates which has come today. Number 1 is that Bharti Airtel has signed an agreement with Sparkle for additional capacity which connects India and Italy. But let me explain this in detail. Now, Sparkle is the first international service provider in Italy, and this additional capacity will be taken from Sparkle on the Blue Ramen submarine cable system. So it is a way wherein the additional capacity will be deployed, and this will enable users to connect network between India and Italy, and this will also help Bharti Airtel to enhance its global presence. Second is that the company has expanded its home Wi-Fi services across all districts of Jammu Kashmir and Leh Ladakh, and hence this will aid the customer base as well in Jammu and Kashmir and Leh Ladakh. The third point is that Airtel has completed deployment of additional spectrum which it had purchased in July 2024 in the areas of Chandigarh and Punjab. This will also result in wider coverage across highways, rail routes, as well as increasing footprints in the rural areas of India. Now, all this will increase the customer base, and hence, remember that Airtel had mentioned that it targets an ARPU, that is average revenue per user, of rupees 300 versus the current levels of around 211 rupees per share. So I think all this will aid in achieving that target of 300 rupees average revenue per user.
Yeah, so a whole host of reasons that Bharti Airtel could run, but nothing that justifies a 4.5% uptick. I mean, nothing that explains why the Nifty right now is nearly 500 points up. But not that we're complaining, but it has to be the rate cuts in China. But why so? Why so, Niraj?
No, just trying to think out loud that the one economy which was ailing and not doing anything was China. I mean, whatever measures they were coming out were found to be wanting. We know that the US is cutting, the EC is due to cut. So the other major economies are cutting rates in order to boost. Yeah. China was left out. China is doing this, which explains the metals, which explains why maybe Europe is doing what it is doing as well out of the ECB rate cuts and this. I mean, right now, based on the reasons visible.
So boost to China economy effectively, then even boost to India, because it's usually seen as an either-or situation. That's just what I'm trying to understand.
But 2 reasons. One, boost to a risk-on sentiment on commodities and others. And now if there is a concerted effort by global central banks across to try and ensure that growth rates don't really crash too much, is that a positive thing? I mean, everybody wanted a rate cut cycle to come in. We have the rate cut cycle coming in, but what was the issue? That, is the great growth dwindling? But
is it too late?
But if there are measures taken to ensure that growth also does, because if 20% of the world GDP contracts significantly, the world is going to have issues. Yeah. If they are trying to take measures, maybe, just maybe, growth also finds a bit of a floor.
Yeah, but then do foreign funds then flow into China or into India?
It's a very good question.
So then that's the big macro question. But anyway, we'll wait and see what happens today. For right now, 25,400 standing strong. I have to come back to our chartists and ask them what they're seeing at 25,400. Let me start with you, Rajesh.
So, Tamanna, yes, I think continuity of uptrend would be there. 25,400, we have already moved to that level. I think next target, 25,500, we could see easily in the Nifty, as all large cap stock, all Nifty constituents are showing good traction. Short covering is already done in most of the stocks. I think fresh buying action is also visible in some of the underperforming stocks. I think Bank Nifty, that is showing very, commendable, positioning at this moment. As now we are almost trading at 51,800, as we projected in the beginning of show that 51,800 to 52,000 could be there. I think here we could see more traction as most of the large cap bank, private large cap banks have shown very good buying interest in today's session. And I think here we could see further more traction and possibly in next one or two trading session, Bank Nifty may scale up to 52,500 kind of zone also, as ICICI Bank, Kotak Bank, HDFC Bank, all these large cap banks are at day high and the breakout is already visible. So we could see further more traction in large cap private banks also.
Okay, so that's the story as far as the Nifty is concerned. Kush, you want to come back on what would be your next move? I can't help it. The index level changes every 10 minutes.
I tell you, the one guy who's not smiling though, from amongst all of us is Aditya.
Is Aditya, yeah.
Are you short on the markets or what? We'll come to Kush, but Aditya, I'm really intrigued. Are you short on the markets?
No. So I'm not short on the markets. I'm happy that my call on the private sector banks is really playing out, and that was one space where the valuation was still okay. Rather than as you say betting on the EMS space or any other space per se. So I'm really happy. Of course, I'm happy. But now the opportunities in the market become thinner and thinner. That's what I'm worried about.
So a preemptive worry there from Aditya, that opportunities become thinner. But then that's what we all are here for. And Aditya, you will come back with those ideas as well, I'm sure. But Kush, on the index.
I'm glad Aditya clarified why he had that grim look on his face. Otherwise, I was wondering, he's probably laughing at me and Rajesh saying, they will keep giving levels, market will
Good one. But Kush, chalo, abhi aap level bata do, Kush. Sorry, we're losing. Am I losing Kush?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not quite getting the audio from Kush properly.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yeah,
yes.
Now you're audible, Kush.
Sure. So as I said, I'll focus more on the bank Nifty now. The Nifty is already done its thing. Perhaps 25,500 in the near term, is where it could hit and perhaps take a pause. I don't know. I'm just going to conjecture here because we're going into uncharted territory. Bank Nifty, however, has been squeezed quite a lot. Has underperformed. 50 to 200 we spoke of in the near term. I think perhaps one good day and we'll be there. But then on the upside, beyond that, 50 to 800 is the level to look for. So still, if you want to play, I think Bank Nifty is the way to go.
Okay, now let's get to stock specific. The overall view and of course the overall mood is very, very positive, but there are some stocks which are buzzing more than others in the space today, and this is on the back of a Nomura report on the whole EMS space. Dixon, Tech, Keynes, Motherson is some of the stocks they've talked about, but the real winner here is Keynes, isn't it? Puneet?
Yeah, thanks for that. So, Nomura has come up with a very, very positive report. They are seeing India being at an inflection point in the EMS space, and there are some factors that they mentioned that are leading to this. PLI benefits growing substantially, reducing imports from China, as well as, the production and the consumption of electronics in the last couple of years has propelled us to become a $100 billion industry as of 2023. Nomura is predicting this to go to $450 billion just in the next 6 years by FY30. And, they are saying that semiconductor manufacturing and packaging will be a long-term opportunity for these players. They also mentioned that the IT hardware segment specifically is seeing a lot of traction here, and by FY26 should be a substantial part of companies' revenues. Based on these two, semiconductor as well as IT hardware, they are targeting two stocks. They've initiated coverage on Dixon Technology. Target price of roughly about 15,567. Now, this was a 26% upside from the previous close, but it is, it is one of the key beneficiaries of the localization trend going forward for electronics in India. Nomura says that they will be able to cater to a 30% market of the India mobile phone market by FY27, and are expecting that, valuations, although high at 60 times price to earning of FY27, does give a good opportunity for the company. The other one, Keynes Technology, is initiating coverage buy again with a target price of 5,969. Now, although this was a 29% upside from the previous close, they are mentioning that, the strong order book is driving growth visibility for the company, and specifically the company's foray into semiconductors, and they've got a cabinet approval as well for 3,300 odd crores to set up a semiconductor plant in Gujarat. That's going to be one of the key things to watch out for. Do note that the company's foraying into PCB manufacturing as well. That's another growth aspect. They're estimating revenues from both of these segments to cross 4,000 crores by FY30. Finally, on Motherson, they have mentioned that because of the focus of these EMS players on the automotive segment will lead to growth for Motherson as well. They have a target of 204 rupees per share, and they see that it may benefit from addressing the component ecosystem. So overall, real positive growth coming in on Keynes as well as Dixon Technology and Motherson on the back of the automotive component segment growth. Back to you.
Okay, so Keynes, Dixon, Motherson are some of those that are buzzing today. Keynes more than anything. I mean, frankly, apart from the Nomura note, everything else is known and in the public domain as well. But Rajesh, let me come to you on any of these counters that you're tracking, Keynes or Dixon, Motherson as well.
So Dixon and Keynes both are looking attractive. The way Keynes is now approaching to its previous swing high, I think there is a possibility that stock may continue furthermore upside to 50-300 kind of zone. I think those who have already long in the trade can hold on the position with trailing stop loss of 5070. Even in the Dixon also, we do believe that here also possibility that stock may cross the level of 13,000 in short span of time. I think the way stock is moving in upsloping channel, that clearly shows that a sustained buying action is taking place in this stock. And minor dips are, again attracting the buying interest in this counter. So I think 13,000, 13,200 would be the next target for Dixon Tech. I think here also one can even hold their position, or even fresh buying can be done with stop loss of 12,650.
Okay, now just a fun factoid before, and actually maybe we should try and take in closing strategies too very quickly. But the fun factoid is that on this day, which is September 12th, 30 years ago, in the year 1994, the Sensex, we should have the Sensex on the screen, the Sensex posted the then all-time high of 4643.31. From there to 82,900, it's been a seriously strong ride.
Wow. And
This is Rajat Bose, of course, who sent this to me.
Yeah, and if there's anyone who knows his trivia and his numbers, it is Rajat Bose. The thing is that the ease with which we've been hitting every new high is perhaps, sometimes we end up taking for granted what really has happened with Indian markets. And the kind of move that we've seen, this is, astonishing at all levels. You might see a pullback tomorrow, you might see some profit booking, all that is fine. But look at that one-way trajectory that we have been seeing. Market's coming off its highest points, but steadily above the 25,300 mark, undoubtedly right now. But let's talk about more stories that we're covering this afternoon on NDTV Profit, and an exclusive story coming in. In fact, the RBI is not in favor of State Bank of India's 51% stake sale proposal in Yes Bank. My colleague Subhana Sheikh joins in with this exclusive detail.
SBI's stake sale in Yes Bank has now reached in a limbo. According to a source, a couple of Japanese banks had shown interest in terms of buying stake in Yes Bank. However, this deal has now hit a roadblock because RBI has not yet received a fit and proper check of this deal. Some context to this, back in 2020 when the whole Yes Bank fiasco had happened, State Bank of India had stepped in and bought stake in Yes Bank. A couple of other banks had also bought stake. Now SBI has been trying to offload this stake for some time now. That is why these Japanese banks were showing interest. However, the RBI is, the whole stake sale deal has now hit a roadblock. The stake sale was supposed to happen by the end of this financial year. However, now this seems like it has been delayed.
All right, so that's the big story on Yes Bank and SBI. Actually, it's bad news for both, but I doubt too much reaction coming in right now, because this is one of those tides which lifts all boats, and SBI is definitely on that tide right now. Yes Bank, though, showing the pressure even on a very, very good day, about 2% down right now. Aditya, you spoke a little while earlier that your take on private banks is exactly how you thought it would pan out. What about public sector banks? Where do you stand on opportunities in your NBFC financials kind of pack?
So I'm cautious on PSU banks. Some of the PSU banks have rallied dramatically, and we've already seen asset quality from being the finest starting to deteriorate now. and one needs to be cautious on the PSU banks per se. Having said that, I'm always positive on a couple of PSU banks, which will include SBI. SBI will continue to do extremely well. Then Canara Bank will continue to do extremely well within the PSU space, and Indian Bank is the third one, which will continue to do extremely well. So these three are the ones that I'm looking for. And if you talk about the NBFC space, then you have to look beyond Bajaj Finance. Bajaj Finance has been doing extremely well over the last 2.5 years. But the stock price has taken a time correction, a valuation correction has already taken place. And with the Bajaj Housing Finance IPO coming up, a huge value unlocking is going to take place within the Bajaj Finance stock. So within the NBFC space, now my top pick continues to be Bajaj Finance, and within the PSU, SBI, followed by Canada.
What would you do with private banks right now, Aditya?
I'll continue to hold. This phase has just started. In my opinion, a lot of them have undergone a time correction over the last 2.5 years. And this is just the start of the rally where large private sector banks will continue to outperform the PSU banks and the smaller private sector banks. So continue to hold on to all of them.
Okay, continue to hold on to all of it. All right, now here's a question which Kush and Rajesh will find interesting to answer. Let's get closing strategies. What are your BTST calls for tomorrow? How do you set yourself up for a great Friday?
So for me, again, private sector bank, Kotak Bank, I would take as a BTST. The stock managed to give breakout of falling trend line on a daily chart. Contracting triangular formation breakout is already done on the stock. I think Kotak Bank can extend its gain towards 1865 to 1870. So here one can buy as a BTST with stop loss of 1810. Another stock is GMR Airport. After a correction, again, stock is showing good traction in terms of buying, and stock is now trading at day high. The way stock is, penetrating its falling trend line, I think there is a potential of 98 to 100 rupees kind of move we can see. So GMR Airport is BTST with stop loss of 92, and third one is Zomato. Zomato is again now trading at all-time high trajectory, and throughout the day we have seen a good buying action. So I think Zomato can be a stock as a BTST for upside target of 295 to 298. Stop loss can be placed at 278.
All right. Kush, what about you? Your ideas?
Couple of them, more like updates as well. Havells, we had discussed around the levels of 1930, just about a week ago, and the second target was 1995 on this, about the 3.5-4% kind of returns on an FNO stock. Not a bad move. I think this could continue. The volumes are also pretty, encouraging on this one. So I think on the upside, you're looking at a move towards 2020 and a 2050 on this one. Your stop loss will now be at 1970. A Concord Biotech, every time we discussed pharma, this was the one stock that we discussed time and again. 1950 was the second target, well, head and shoulders above that. The move still continues, still some distance away from the overheated territories. So you could continue to ride this for levels of 2100 and 2175. And on the downside, now you place your stop loss near 1960 levels.
Concord Bio, one of those tomorrow that you can look at. Stock's already 4% up. But, even as we go into the last few minutes of trade, Niraj, I think the other big story to look at post-closing is our own inflation numbers, which are going to come in. Because remember, retail inflation is expected to remain at a 5-year low in August. CPI data will be out later this evening. It's projected to ease to 3.42% in August. That's because of base effect and continuing easing in food pressures. Retail inflation will come within RBI's target of 4%. And high-frequency data is suggesting easing in prices of tomatoes on annual and sequential basis. Now, I was reading this piece, Niraj, about how just the drop in prices of tomatoes have dropped the price of entire thalis and meals, veg and non-veg, by 30 to 40%. So, I mean, that's the kind of vagaries the food basket is subject to.
I would say Indian and Italian both.
Indian and Italian, Mexican as well. Why not?
Mexican as well.
But nevertheless, I mean, if you have a good figure, a good number, market doesn't generally move too much on the inflation number. But more good news is always welcome if that's what we see later today.
Yeah, why not? Aditya, so maybe more good news welcome. You were constructive on banks. Last word to you. Anything that you can think of as an investment candidate aside of large banks currently? We have about 60 seconds, Aditya.
Contra theme, chemicals, we've seen Gujarat Fluorochemical move from 3,000 to about 5,000 now. There's a company called Apcotex Industries that you can watch out for. There are companies in the diagnostic space as well. Let's say companies like Krishna Diagnostics who are doing exceptionally well. There are companies within the auto ancillary space as well. Companies like Motherson, companies like RACL, Geartech who are doing extremely well. So these are all the themes that you can watch out for. But again, these have to be long-term investments and not short-term investments per se.
Yeah, well, Gujarat Fluoro, Aditya is right, has had a stellar run. But yeah, long-term investments at the current context. But gentlemen, all three of you on such a celebratory day, thank you so much for being with us and giving us your thoughts. Really appreciate your time. And what a day it has been. I know we tend to celebrate bull markets and some bears will argue why not the bearish side, but hey, most people are invested and therefore the bulls deserve the cheer. But what a day today, what a day. And what a close, Tamanna. You could argue that we are not 2% higher, but 1.6, but that's quibbling really for the chop change.
You have to leave something for tomorrow because you're going to close out the week. Now, what are we going to see in the next few hours before we get to markets open tomorrow? You're going to see CPI data from India. You're going to see PPI data coming in the US, production price index as well. So that would set you up perhaps for great global cues, more clarity on what's happening in China. So the global piece becomes fairly important on a day like this. I would be keen to see what that FII figure is also this evening and how much that's perhaps contributed to this kind of afternoon delight that we've seen.
Could be very, very interesting to see that number for sure. But very quickly as we wrap up, just a snapshot of the Nifty 50 heat map, just to show you two stocks in the red and hardly in the red, but look at the greens. And the list has stayed the same, so won't argue too much, but just note that metals, in addition to everything else, have done really well, and that's a bit of a surprise move here.
Yeah. On the broader side of the markets, just quickly, the small cap and the mid cap, because is this a Nifty story only? Not really, though obviously all the fireworks are on the Nifty right now. So you're seeing the small cap and the mid cap index just about 1% up. Top gainers and losers on the broader end of the spectrum before we wrap for the day. On the gaining side, Century Textiles, Engineers India has had an interesting spike there. Kalyan Jewellers on the back of an HSBC note today doing pretty well. So CG Power, all of the semicon stocks actually fairly buzzing in trade. I don't know how Keynes Tech has ended, but that would be interesting to see. Prism John is seeing a second day in a row of profit booking. Granules, because of 6 US FDA observations, is in a bit of pain as well, but many more gainers than losers. So it's been a good day, and we'll see you back on India Market Open to set you up for trade tomorrow. But for now, from Niraj and me and the entire team that put the show together, thank you so much for watching.
Ready? We'll do a slightly longer one. Yeah? नहीं ब्लॉक्स दिखाओ, नो प्रॉब्लम. खाली एक निफ्टी का लाइन ग्राफ दिखाओ प्लीज. सेंसेक्स, निफ्टी, व्हाटएवर.